Is Avignon just a gorgeous medieval postcard? Or could it actually be a place where we, my husband and I, and our pets, art, food, public transit, and an eco forward life? Could we live there? Today, I'm doing a full armchair exploration of Avignon. I'll talk about the beauty, the events, the inconveniences, the cost of living, whether we could survive there without a car. I'll also take a look at what immigrants and expats who live there now really say about what daily life is like. So let's explore. Let's start with a very brief history, and I mean very brief. My sweater is weird. I have done some studying on the history of Avignon, but I don't want to dive into too much. It's kind of at the heart of the Provence region of southern France. And yes, the light there does seem very painter and artist friendly. I mean, Arles is just a little further away and you can get there by train from Avignon. And that's where Van Gogh painted so many light-filled canvases. Avignon, though, is famous for one big thing. In the 1300s, the popes relocated there. Now, in the scheme of things, they weren't there very long. They were there for about 70 years. This became the center of the Roman Catholic world. If you're interested, there are a couple really decent historical videos. All you have to do is do a YouTube search on history of Avignon. And the popes is the one thing that they'll always talk about. Today, the Palais des Papes, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Palais des Papes. Palais des Papes? I don't know. So view-wise, you get a really nice mix of ancient walls, bright sun-washed stone, and from the city walls, you can have this beautiful view of a river. The whole historic core of Avignon is UNESCO listed and extremely walkable. To be honest, while I think it is beautiful, a Palace of the Popes isn't really all that much interest to my husband and I outside of looking at a big, pretty building. So the Palace of the Popes and the garden and the walking areas around it are beautiful. They have some beautiful garden areas and stuff. But it does make me wonder, is that it? Once you've seen it and explored it, would it get boring to live there? Let's talk about population and transportation. Can you live there without a car? Avignon proper has about 90 to 95,000 people. It's big enough for amenities, but small enough not to feel completely overwhelming. However, it does seem like people are compressed together in that 95,000 number. Now, the wider area is much larger. There are suburban areas and villages all around. For a city of this size, public transportation is surprisingly good. Avignon has buses that run frequently. They have a modern tram line. It's a little over 5 kilometers long, with several stops along the way. They have plans for a second tram line, but I think those keep getting put on hold. They also have a fast bus network called Kronhop that connects the surrounding area and villages and towns. They also have the bike share system, Velopop, and there are about 100 kilometers of bike paths, and those paths are growing. There's even a boat shuttle across the Rhone to the Ile de la Barthelasse, the island of Barthelasse. It's a very big island where people can walk, bike, picnic, and maybe even go on a little sketch tour. So if you live inside the walls or in a neighborhood with a bus or tram stop nearby, you could realistically live here without a car. The only time you might miss one is to do like little rural day trips. Those trips, Avignon does also have those little cities, CITIZ cars available to rent by the hour and the kilometer. And they're pretty reasonably priced. However, there is one big downside for us that I have not talked about, but that may be a deal breaker. There is a very busy road with several lanes that runs right between the water's edge of the Rhone and the city walls of Avignon. Taking off my glasses because they're reflecting too much. I need to put some cucumbers on my eyes. They look puffy. Anyway, this road is a perimeter road that circles the old town. While it's not a high-speed motorway, it is a significant road for busy traffic. We understand the need for it because it allows access to parking near the major attractions like the Palace of the Popes and the Pont d'Avignon, that bridge that goes mostly across the river. But my issue isn't really that there's a road. My issue is that it's a busy road. Every single video I watched where people were standing on the bridge or standing next to the riverside or even standing up at the top on the plateau looking over the wall and down to the river, every single one, those people had to talk over the noise of the traffic Yes, there might be easy access to the river, but here in North Carolina, my husband and I already live beside a busy road. And it might only be 2 lane, but it's busy. And that one has 2 lanes going each direction. And every video I looked at, it was pretty busy most of the time. We don't want to take walks or picnics along the Rhone River and constantly be hearing traffic noise. Aside from that though, I don't want to poo-poo on it just for that reason. So let's go on and look at some of the other things. I forgot to mention that it does have a lot of art museums, a lot of different kinds of art and museums throughout the small city. But then again, almost every place in France has an art museum, you know? And I just don't know, will that be enough to keep our interest? I just, to live there, yes, to be a tourist, but once we've seen all the things, will there be enough life there to be able to enjoy it? I mean, I could sit and look at the views in Carcassonne of the castle and the walls for days and weeks and months, and to have that as my view would be fantastic. But I don't know. I guess the Palais de Papas just doesn't quite do it for me like that. What do immigrants and expats think of? Are they happy there? Avignon does have a small but pretty active immigrant presence. There are English speaking meetup groups, language exchanges, and Facebook communities. The general consensus is that people really like living there. They love the beauty of the place and they love the slower pace of life. A few of the comments that I saw gave some pros. The locals are friendly. Most people are very warm. It's pretty. There's a great food culture. There are tons of festivals throughout the year, and there's excellent access to the rest of Provence by train and by bus. Now let's look at some of the cons. Because it's such an active city and so musical and has so many festivals, a lot of people complain about all of the constant flyers that are hanging all over town. Now they're not hammered into walls. There are like these big long strings of just papers and leaflets and flyers everywhere in certain sections. Some people complain that a few neighborhoods are a bit rough, but honestly, neighborhoods are rough. There are rough neighborhoods in every place you go, anywhere. And another complaint is during festival season, the crowds and noise can be dramatic. Some people that lived in the city center complained that while they were there, even though their apartments were facing side streets, they complained that the noise levels were constant and lasted late into the night, to the point where they actually needed earplugs to be able to go to sleep. So that kind of lets out the city center for me. Overall, though, most people said they felt very welcome. It's not Paris diverse, but it is reasonably multicultural, especially due to the influx of students, artists, and seasonal workers. So let's take a look at the climate and the surrounding landscape. Avignon has a Mediterranean climate. It has hot, dry summers, mild winters, and lots of clear light that painters really enjoy. There is a mistral wind. It's a strong, dry north wind that can sometimes whip through the city at 30 to 60 miles per hour for several days in a row. However, we're talking days, not months. Some people love it. Some people hide indoors, pretending to read books while secretly scrolling social media. No judgment. The land around Avignon is beautiful. It's flat near the river. There are rolling hills outside the city. And then boom, within an hour, you reach the Luberon villages and mountainous areas. If you're into walking, biking, sketching, this region could be perfect for you. Another plus is that Avignon is kind of on that TGV corridor. Yes, the TGV train station, the high-speed train station, is slightly out of town. So if you take the high-speed train, you have to take another bus or train to get to the city center. However, it's so close to the TGV and other regional trains that it's super easy to get down to Marseille and over to Nice, etc. And it's super easy to get back up to Lyon and to Paris and parts further north. So it's really very connectable. Let's talk about the food scene and walkability. The center of Avignon is extremely walkable. There are lots of narrow medieval streets, pretty colorful buildings with shutters, cafes that spill out onto all the plazas, and boulangeries everywhere calling out your name. Les Halles, the main indoor market of Avignon, is a great place to go for produce and specialty foods. When I watched the videos, it kind of actually reminded me of the markets around Faneuil Hall in Boston. There are some international restaurants. Because there's a pretty decent immigrant population from many places, there are Asian restaurants and markets. There are North African markets, which may be good places for me to find spices that I need for Mexican food. There are certainly Italian places. There are even, for my vegan friends, there are even some vegan places. And almost every place has a vegan dish or two, or at least a vegetarian dish or two on the menu. But the variety isn't going to be as wide as in the larger cities. As I said, the specialty grocery stores do exist, but they're small. And expats sometimes say that you have to travel to a bigger city to get very specific international ingredients. Is Avignon beautiful and sketch-worthy? Could I hold retreats there that would hold people's attention for a good amount of time, say if there's a week retreat? Probably yes. Avignon is a place where you probably run out of sketchbook room before you run out of things to sketch. They've got ramparts, they've got rivers, they've got the bridge, clusters of rooftops, ancient arches, cozy cafes, beautiful countryside, bright sunlit plazas. Even the shadows are really dramatic. And because the city attracts theater, performance, and art year round, especially during the July festival, it is one of the most creatively energizing places in Provence. Now, that could also be a downside. There is so much going on and there is so much tourism because Avignon is kind of a hub in Provence that it makes for a lot of crowds and a lot of noise. And if that's not your thing, it's also, as I said, hot. It's hot in the summers. And of course, the festivals are during the hot parts of the summer. Maybe the people who like quiet just hole up and shutter their houses and live in the cool indoors. So it might be very creatively energizing, but I'm not sure if, as an artist who tends to like the slower sitting, sketching without the crowds completely surrounding me all the time, I'm not sure if it's a place I could live. But let's look at the cost of living and rent. And we're talking 2+ bedrooms outside of the city center because that is where we would prefer to be. We don't want to be in the suburbs, but we don't want to be in the center either. We want to be kind of in between. A 2-bedroom apartment just outside of the city center, but not way out in the suburbs, is usually somewhere in the €800 to €1,400 department, depending on the size and the square footage. It depends on renovations, it depends on the energy rating, and it depends on the neighborhood, of course. Older places inside the walls of the city can be charming, but might have kind of quirky medieval insulation issues. Outside of the city walls, you'll find more modern layouts. Overall, the costs are lower than Aix-en-Provence, lower than Montpellier, lower than Marseille, and dramatically lower than Paris or the Côte d'Azur. Now, because my husband is in tech, in informatics, data analytics, programming, he wants to see if there are jobs. Avignon itself is not a major tech hub. The economy leans more into culture, tourism, education, and agriculture. There are IT jobs around, like tech support, development roles, networking jobs, or project management. But for someone who wants a robust tech career, you're probably going to be commuting. Now, are there creative retreat spaces? Could I hold creative retreats there? Yes, I think I could. There are a lot of boutique hotels, a lot of charming bed and breakfasts, even rural estates and farmhouses within 10 to 20 minutes of the city center that host small workshops and retreats. So they're used to accommodating artistic groups. Would I want to live there and always host my retreats there? I don't know. Some of the inconveniences that people mention. Because no place is perfect, here's what some people have said. Summer crowds during the festival can be overwhelming. July and August can be very, very hot. The mistral winds can sometimes cause pretty dramatic bad hair days. Some neighborhoods feel a little less polished. There are fewer international stores if you need niche products or ingredients or international goods. There's nothing really catastrophic about the complaints, just kind of practical inconveniences. Final question. Could we live here? Could we see ourselves living in Avignon? For me, as an artist who loves walkability, cafes, markets, history, beauty, food, and sketching, this city checks so many boxes. It's inspiring, it's manageable, it's an artistic sort of place. However, there's one caveat about the artistic sort of place. Yes, there are artists. Yes, there are art museums and galleries. But the artistic side seems to lend itself more toward theatrical art and musical art, which are both well up my alley as well. I love to sing and I love to do theater. But my work is in sketching and painting and teaching others how to embrace that creativity in their lives too. And the busyness during July and August and the heat during July and August might combine to make it a little less palatable for me and for people who might be coming to my retreats. Also, the 4 lanes of busy traffic between the city walls and the river are really off-putting to me. I have lived next to busy road traffic for most of my adult life, and I am over it. I don't mind the slower traffic inside city centers. I don't mind the occasional garbage truck making its backing up noises and loud noises. I don't even mind the occasional construction noises. They stop in the evening. But that constant road noise of people driving by, driving back, driving by, driving back, and going 40 miles an hour plus, or 80 kilometers an hour plus. I don't know. I don't know what the speed limit on that road is. All I know is that in every video that was shot near the road or near the river, you could hear traffic. And it's that highway traffic that bothers me. It's that zoom, vroom traffic. It's not the slower traffic that you find in the city center where you have to drive much, much slower than that. I mean, I'm hearing busy road noise right now as I speak with all the windows shut in my living room, which is the furthest room away from the highway. And I'm still hearing the constant noise of people going by in their trucks, on their motorcycles, in their big trucks, all of those things. And I just don't think I want to live with that anymore. So it does make me wonder if I would be happy taking a picnic, for example, over to the riverbank, to sit on the riverbank and have a little picnic with my husband and our dog, but constantly be hearing that noise behind me, unless I took the ferry boat to the island where I could get a little bit away from the traffic. So the biggest things we'd need to consider are the busy festival crowds. And there is a lot of tourism even outside the festivals because it's such a hub in Provence. A few very hot weeks in the summertime, 2 months worth of hot in the summertime. But, 9 months out of the year, Avignon feels pretty good. And the road noise. Will that get to me? So, no, I don't think that Avignon is a place where we want to settle, at least not in the beginning. Yes, it's sight unseen. Yes, when we get there for a visit, I can't wait to go visit there, spend a few days. But currently, would I want to live there to start with and to explore and to see what my French life might be like? I don't think so. It ticks a lot of boxes, but there are a couple really big um, roadblocks for me. And as I said, it feels like the Palace of the Popes is the center of everything in Avignon. And that's okay. It's really pretty, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm going to need to be able to go more places and see more things and tour more museums and stuff like that. So I'm actually beginning to think that maybe I've been looking outside of Nantes, which I did that exploration of a few weeks ago. Nantes is a pretty big city. Outside of that, I don't know that these smaller cities will be right for us to live without a car, because is there enough culturally going on that would keep us interested, or would we need to find a place that's bigger? So I think Avignon is off the list as a place we would want to live, but it is definitely on the list of a place we want to visit. It is a place we want to visit once we do live in France. So next time, I think I'm going to go back west and explore Toulouse, which is quite a large city. In fact, I think it's the third largest now. I think it goes Paris, Marseille, Lyon, Toulouse, though I think Toulouse has passed Lyon and is up. It has a little bit more population than Lyon does at this point, but it seems more spread out. And they have a great public transportation system. And I'm talking to people there who I'm actually making friends with. I think I'm going to really dive more deeply into Toulouse and the culture, and if we'd be able to live there without feeling sort of claustrophobic like we did in Paris. So that's going to be my next one. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the little video clips and the photos I've been showing of the area around Avignon. And I hope to see you next Thursday with an exploration of Toulouse. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel and hit the little notifications bell if you want to be notified when my next video goes up. And I will see you at my live on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is 9 p.m. French time. So I'll see you then.